Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Court of Swords. I have no idea what week it is.
53.
53? 54?
5-3.
Okay.
It's 53.
It's
I only
53.
know that because I was looking at my notes just a minute ago, and
Nice.
it was episode 52 last episode, so we're
Nice.
good.
Nailed it.
I was just looking at Max's camera, and I just wanted to say, like, you are handsome.
Should we tell that story?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell it.
Me and Max were getting coffee at PAX Unplugged. If you didn't know, we were at PAX Unplugged this past weekend. Dan, we missed you. We could have used you in our Scrabbling, by the way. We'll tell that story as well, maybe. Because you're probably a much better Scrabbler than the three of us. But anyways, we were getting coffee. It was Friday, right before our panel. And me and Zeke and Max were a little slow, so we needed some caffeine. Went to the coffee shop. Me and Max are standing in line, pretty busy, probably about 20 minutes of wait. We get to the front of the line, and Max goes to place his order. Let me get a caramel macchiato. Before he can finish, the lady behind the cash register just interrupts him and goes, "You're so handsome." And I'm just like, what? And Max is just like, what? This doesn't happen normally. Or this doesn't happen ever, I think is what you said. And
Yeah, I was like, it took me back, and I turned to JP. I'm like, this doesn't happen.
yeah.
What are you talking about? I've been saying how handsome you are since day one. Come on, Max.
Yeah.
Don't pretend
Like I said,
it
it doesn't happen from like people whose opinion matters.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It
Nice. Good.
that was nice too.
I care about you.
She's like, you don't even have a ring on your finger, son. I'm just like, all right. But I was hoping Max was going to swing it into getting free coffee, but he didn't. He just let it lie. He actually he evacuated the area as fast as possible. So much so that while I was standing to wait for our coffee, the lady asked, "Where'd your friend go?" He's around the corner. It's like he's around the corner, man. I can get him for you if you want. He goes, "Oh no, he probably shouldn't be here." So
I like how Max. I like how JP ignores the middle part of that transaction. Like, oh, I wish he would have done something to give me some free coffee. It's like, lady flirts with Max. JP gets free coffee. There's some awkward shit in the middle there that we don't.
yeah,
What's the problem? What's the problem? Why don't we, free coffee? Come on.
yeah,
it's
free coffee. It should have worked that way.
No, I think half the enjoyment of the story for me is hearing JP's impression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
You were
dynamite.
handsome.
it's pretty good.
Makes me so happy.
Pretty good. And then we went from there and played Scrabble and found out that none of us know words at all. We're just bad at words.
I think the most important distinction to be made is we were playing Scrabble like the proper way, which we talked about with Adam too, is the challenge way, which is the way you will people to try to dispute the words that you've put the words you've put down on the Scrabble board, because if they do and they're wrong, then it's you fuck them over. They don't get to go, and everybody else continues to play.
Yeah. These rules were also introduced to us by Zeke. So me and Max were more keepers of the rules and focused on that too much when he tried to put like fa and ma and stuff in there, which are the words. There's no argument there. They work. But then he spells beef, beaf, and we don't even question that. That's not There's not even an argument there.
I look at that because I just saw wa, and I'm like, what the fuck is WA?
Yeah.
Exciting stories from ScrabbleCon 2017.
Yeah.
That was a great con.
That's the thing. Like, I would have felt like I missed something if I didn't do at least something tabletop while I was there.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
Next year, Candyland. We're gonna do a Candyland tournament.
They
Roleplay
probably had
license.
that there. There was a Yahtzee tournament going on across the table from us, or across
Now that shit.
the row, as
Listen.
it were.
Next time we fuck around and we bring some Monopoly, some Court of Swords Monopoly streamed at the table. Just
Yeah.
Court of
down
Swords.
camera.
There you go, JP. So there's a low ball for merch if you want. We'll make a Court of Swords version of Monopoly.
Monopoly. Yeah.
Burgopoly, and we'll just name all the dumb squares after stupid stuff from the game. Make
What's
tiny little
I love it.
Berg head is one of the figures.
who gets Broadway and the other blue one? What are the two blue ones right before
Park Place.
Park Place? Yeah, who gets Broadway and Park Place?
I feel like one of the two has to be Heaven, right? And the other is probably the City of Brass, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That makes sense. Yeah.
I tried to make my color better on my camera. I think I fucked it up a little bit.
Yeah, you're a
You
little.
are a little purple now. Good
It's
job,
fine.
Magenta.
It's fine.
Do you guys like it better the other way?
I think so. Yeah.
When you weren't purple, yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
now you've questioned my sense of are you the right color, and it's just all fucked up.
Conversation about what color Max is,
Yeah.
and move on to some other topic.
There you go. There you go.
Are you
Mac-
trying not to be handsome now? Is that what you're doing?
I was trying not to be so white, but whatever. I'm just.
Whoa,
just gonna-
whoa.
Fair.
Listen,
Jesus.
You have very nice middle-aged black ladies complimenting you. You start to question, is it okay to be white? And you're like, or maybe, maybe I should just, I should embrace. I actually am a little bit African American. Just so you guys know, very tiny bit. No one cares about this, but
No.
just mentioning it.
Yeah, no, we've got a.
no.
I'm gonna get out of here as fast as you did when that lady started complimenting you.
I'm Homer Simpsoning out of here.
Hi everybody, welcome to episode 53 of 3 white guys talk about Max's ethnicity. So,
Jesus Christ.
Do you watch South Park, Max?
Not as of late. No, not the recent stuff.
Darn, I had a good reference then
Oh.
to that. What you just said.
Yes, it does do it.
I was gonna say so what % victim are you? That was one of the episodes. Was genetic sequencing and finding out what % victim you were.
God, I can't wait till we get on Tumblr. A Tumblr
Yeah.
post about how great this
That is gonna be
Cortisaurus
great.
is.
Yeah.
It's gonna
the
be
thing
good.
is, Max, the thing is though, like those jokes are fine for you to make. It's okay. It's okay for you to joke about that. If we can't handle it as a bunch of white dudes, it's all good.
That's true.
That's true.
That's on us.
That's very true.
And I'm half Mexican. All right, so I got all
What?
sorts
No,
of minorities.
now you're just going too far here, Max. Now you're just fucking. It's too much.
You guys want
Okay?
to talk about Mexicans?
It's too much. It's way too much.
I just love making JP uncomfortable.
It's not uncomfortable. It
It's
just
so
has
good.
nothing. It just has nothing to do with the show at all.
My mother is married to a Mexican. Does that count for something?
Oh boy.
Yes, you were.
Max, what are you doing in a hotel?
I'm in a hotel because Thanksgiving trip that I'm on.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be fine having the hotel or no, the what's it called, because my parents, they rent with me, like we go halvesies on a little like rental beach property thing, and the hotel or the beach property Wi-Fi is complete shit. It was. You remember last year that I did the show from it too?
No.
A show from it. Yeah. You tell.
No, I don't recall that at all.
Room that had like little like shells behind me. It was like a little bedroom, and I was cutting in and out.
I don't
Maybe the
remember
people
that.
remember it.
The only time I ever remember someone doing a show like away from their actual place is with Jeff. It's Jeff. Jeff goes to Portland, or used to go to
No,
Portland.
the best. You're forgetting the best possible.
Oh,
one. Someone
it's
posted
true.
this clip. Someone posted this clip recently to remind me that this happened when we were doing Balance of Power,
Yeah.
and Caitlin was at that hotel office center.
Wasn't even a hotel. She was just in the office center of like a dentist or some office. I don't know. It was
Yeah,
weird.
so she's in the building, and then she left to do something, and the woman in the room just like stared at the screen and like took pictures.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm pretty
I
sure
don't
you
think I would
guys.
ever do that. Like set up a stream and stuff in just like a public office kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's fine.
I'm pretty sure you were like waving at her and stuff too as she took the photo.
I remember you guys
we were
mentioning
calling her
that.
out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the place was, the Wi-Fi was like completely garbage. It wasn't even a meg down or meg up, so
Yeah.
that wasn't good. Cool.
Uh,
I could have said, JP, I can't do the show, but instead I was dedicated, so I don't want to hear anybody bitch about the show being late.
No, I know.
So I
That's
got
why I'm not bitching.
Hotel room to do the show. I'm here.
You did the right thing.
I'm
Yeah.
proud of
You
you.
went the extra mile. 2 things. 1, Adam, I love how your camera just focused on the baby head behind you on your shelf.
Oh, you
That
haven't
was great.
seen my beautiful
Nope,
son?
the camera
Yeah,
the
yeah,
camera
you-
recognizes that as a face and it focuses on it when you're out of not centered. That's great. And 2,
bullet.
you brought up the speed of internet, Max. We put an offer in on a house. We were in contract to buy said house, and then we had
Yeah.
them speed test said house, and it was like 1.5 down and like 0.5 up speed.
Jesus.
So we got the fuck out of that contract after the cable company said, "Oh no, you can stream on that. You can totally stream on it." And I'm just like, in what fucking universe do you live in that that's something that could do anything? That's like barely 100 bit rate.
That was the max like speed there?
Yep.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
How do
It's,
people
I don't know.
what? That's insane. That would have been a colossal,
Yeah.
colossal
Yeah.
shit show there.
Yeah, it would have sucked.
Jesus.
It would have sucked. But
Well,
anyways,
good
I'm
for
glad
you.
you got a hotel. I appreciate you going the extra mile. What's on TV? Is that what you're watching over there?
Actually, I commandeered this as a second monitor, so I'm trying to load up and host the channel.
Oh, going the extra mile again. Well, I appreciate it. Dan, what's been going on with you? We'll cut the intro a little bit short because who cares what Zeke and Adam been up to? They traveling and pack stuff.
Nothing's too exciting. Been watching the new Punisher show on Netflix.
I want to talk with Adam about that because I saw your tweets about it, Adam, and I'm interested to hear Dan's thoughts as well. So, Dan, first off, did you like it? Do you like it?
Yeah, I'm like 2 episodes away from the end, and it's been.
Oh,
really
you
good.
got the best
Yeah.
episode coming up. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it. But Adam, your tweets were interesting. So if you want to bring that conversation to the forefront.
Well, I'm really curious about the show, right? Because it
Right.
seems like, based on what I know about Punisher, both from what I've seen of him on Daredevil and familiarity with, like, I'm not a big, like, long-time Punisher fan or anything, but I've read some Punisher comics. I know what he's about, both in both venues, and I'm curious about Punisher's sort of place in being like a media thing now. Like, he's getting his own show at a very weird time in our relationship with guns and violence and like angry white men perpetuating violence. And I'm super curious about the way the show handles that.
The show is about that 100%.
Yeah, right?
That's like a factor in the show.
I'm fascinated. I think it's a great time to be having conversations about this stuff. And I absolutely, it's not a like, there shouldn't be a show about a character like this, but I'm just like, I really wonder what parts of that it touches on. So I'm really excited to take a look at it.
Yeah, they address a lot of issues like that, like including like how we treat vets when they come back from war, and how we just sort of
PTSD and all that
abandon
stuff.
them,
Yeah.
there's so many good things.
It's interesting for me too because I've been binge watching this Ken Burns Vietnam War documentary, which, as you can imagine, touches on some similar themes. So yeah, super interested in checking that out. So you like it so far, Dan?
Yeah, it's like.
And JP, you've seen the whole thing.
I finished it last night. Yeah. My brother was a big Punisher fan growing up, so I know like all about the Punisher. I know how fucking crazy that book was and how it was kind of on one of the outliers in terms of what could go in comic books in terms of like a graphic novel back before it was before The Walking Dead, I think, much before that, and kind of that style of graphic novel.
Well, Punisher's origins were meant to be like a guest. Like he originally wasn't really like, he didn't get his own comic. He was just like this unhinged dude who would show up in other people's comics, including Archie. And go gun crazy and have to ask that question in the comic of like, is it better to be disciplined in a sense that there are certain things you will not do versus is it better to get shit done and do all the things?
Yeah. The character is a little bit different than the one from the comics. I think if anything, it's more a precursor to what he is in the comics in terms of like a badass mercenary guy who's just going to get the job done in terms of whoever he has to eliminate. But the gore is on point. There was multiple. As someone who's really not that squeamish when it comes to stuff, there's one or two scenes where I'm just kind of like, good fucking Lord, can we not show this? Like it rivals the Game of Thrones head squishing moment. Like it makes that look like nothing. Huh. Yeah. Dan hasn't gotten there yet, but yeah.
I've gotten to a couple scenes where like he's been injured and they're repairing it very in depth.
I would absolutely love to hear someone with like a better handle on all of this stuff than me, like Austin Walker, maybe, or like the folks at Waypoint, do an analysis or a discussion about compare and contrast John Wick and the Punisher. Yeah. Because I think that they tell similar seeming stories, but in very different ways.
Well, I think John Wick is more of like they're both badasses, right? But the Punisher's deal is he gets shot. He fucking gets fucked up throughout this entire show. He just doesn't die. And John Wick just doesn't get hurt. He's just like, I'm John Wick, and then he kills you.
He's got bulletproof everything.
Bulletproof
shin guards.
They try to keep this pretty grounded.
Everything.
Like
he doesn't feel like he has any superpowers or like he's inhuman. He's just a really good soldier in this.
Yeah. And there's definitely a couple like badass Punisher scenes. There's one where he's in a room and like they do the slow motion thing where he's throwing the smoke grenades and then he just like backs up into the smoke and you just have no idea where he's at. and then that's like the whole fight sequence, which is probably one of my favorite.
Yeah.
But there's other ones where he's just like walking and then he just gets shot in the arm and he has to think, well, I'm probably going to bleed to death now. So this sucks. Let me try to figure this out, and takes care of the wound, etc. But yeah,
I think Punisher is part of a lineage of shows that, at least in the kind of modern era, the idea of a show whose protagonist is like unequivocally not a good person.
Oh yeah, he's a bad. Like they talk about it all the time.
Breaking Bad is the sort of like high watermark of this. Of like, are you supposed to like him? How do we make protagonists that are relatable but also clearly not in the right? And can you make a show that can sit on the back of a character like that? Like, is it possible to enjoy a show whose main character is obviously wrong? And I'm again super interested in seeing how Punisher fits into that space.
They do a pretty good job of basically like everyone in the show is just gray. Like everything about that show is in the very middle area where like they do some things that you're like, well, I could see that, but other things that's just like, well, nope, they're actually still a terrible human being. Never mind. And it kind of just goes from that where every character is gray and has their good and bad things, and you just kind of have to agree that like everyone's shitty. So I don't know. It's definitely
I still haven't watched it yet. I'm super excited to watch. When he was introduced on the other one, what the fuck?
Daredevil.
Daredevil. Sorry, I'm operating on like 3 hours of sleep here. So, yeah, Daredevil. When he was on there, I was like, of course he's going to get his own show. Like, especially when everybody received him so positively, and they just kept like kind of bringing him back. I'm like, all right, he's going to get his own show. So I'm really excited to jump into it. It's nice to hear everybody else saying that it's not like I was really worried they were going to treat it poorly and it was just going to be a fucking letdown. No, but it's good to hear that it's actually going to be something to look forward to.
Yeah, for me,
Punisher as a character, I was just going to say, Punisher as a character relies on the fact that if you want to not necessarily agree with him, if you want to look at him sympathetically, you have to believe that eye for an eye is a viable like form of justice in some way or another.
Right.
Like if you're like, if somebody kills your whole family and you go after them with machine guns, that's an okay thing to do in some way.
Right.
You have to accept that before you can really get behind it. Like, because if you don't believe that vengeance is a thing, you get all of these movies, especially John Wick or Punisher, and you have to kind of throw them out as a concept because it's reliant on that. Yeah.
I think the other thing too is more so than any other of the Netflix Marvel shows, like character development is a really big thing in this. I think there's a character by the name of Micro who you just think is going to be like, you know, the guy in the chair that sits behind a computer that like gives him updates, but he has like some of the best character development throughout the entire show. And he's kind of like probably the guy you're rooting for more so than the Punisher, because you kind of know the Punisher is going to make it out of there somehow, but you're more rooting for like Micro to get his stuff fulfilled. And they do a really good job of that. And also like there's a bunch of twists and stuff. It's not just like they go from point A to point B. There's a ton of fucking swervy shit, and they kind of surprise a lot of people as well. So, and the other thing is they do a lot of like going in and out of not reality, but it's like they go into the head space of the Punisher a lot, and that's called back in almost every episode. So like he'll see his wife, and they're like in a bed or something, and she's kissing him, and then she stands up, and a guy just comes up behind her with a gun and fucking blows her brains out. And they just show that constantly. So it never is a cheery show at any point. Anytime there's a win, you're just
like, there's no like beach episode where Punisher and Daredevil go for some beers and then go for a little jog on the beach. Talk about feelings.
Yeah. It's pretty fucked up. Yeah, but it's good. I enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. So
interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. We'll talk about that maybe next week if you get a chance to watch some of it. But yeah, I think we're past due for our pre-show time because we started a little bit late. So let's do some role playing.
Yeah, let's do that. So beginning today's episode, anybody changing their goals? Are we still good with the goals that we have?
I have one change.
Okay. Yeah, what are you changing?
I am changing my first goal of getting Solly to experience life better to and I think I'm not sure if I trust Dan to play this like he doesn't know, but find a way to repay Ramus. It is Ramus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's Ramus.
I forget how to pronounce it. Okay, find a way to repay Ramus for healing me, for bringing me back from the brink of death.
Twice.
That's true.
Okay.
We didn't also talk. Well, is anyone else changing their goals before I jump? Topics. I'm mine are the same.
I don't think so.
Experience points though.
That's what I was
From
going
last
to jump
time.
to. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Did anybody accomplish any of the things that they had as goals last time? I'll make a note to remember to do at the end of the episode.
Okay.
Yes, Berg now realizes that pain is just part of No.
Yeah, I don't think anyone, or at least I didn't solve any stuff. The fight kind of put a wrench in a lot of that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did. But that's okay. All right, cool. So is there, I guess my question for you guys, is there any kind of like immediate post-battle stuff you'd like to do? Or should we jump forward to what seems to me to be the next most obvious kind of plot point, being the meeting with Inanna?
Is there going to be a time for like wound healing or something like that? Because I'm sure some of us are hurt.
All you really have to do is, actually to that point, when did Dan? Do you remember when Inanna wanted to meet you?
It was 2 days from the day that the guy gave me the thing at midnight.
Right. So you do have time. So yeah, you've got a full day essentially. If there's anything that y'all would have done or would like to do before then, don't let me jump us ahead if you have things you want to do.
Okay. What would we do about the bodies? Like, we're not just going to leave them in there festering in the ambush.
That is a great question. Yeah, no, it's your inn, and the inn, you're squatting in this inn, and the inn is in a haunted neighborhood, which may have its own problems. You have the body of a priest who someone will definitely wonder where he's gone, and then some mercenaries who God knows where they're from. But you haven't really taken a good look at the guy or any of them. But yeah, they're moldering. They'll become moldering corpses right quick.
I mean, Berg's a pretty big fan of priest soup, so if we could just maybe like a stew or something. With them.
Orcs and half-orcs can absolutely stomach human flesh.
That's what I was about to ask. Like, has Berg eaten human flesh before? Do you eat humans?
I don't know. Does he? Maybe we'll find out in a very dramatic way.
Because I was thinking like, turtles might just eat anything as long as it's like substance to it, right? Like,
no, I think more than likely Berg would probably just try to loot them, see what they got, and then burn them. Just get rid of them in a way that makes the most sense.
Turtles, yeah, I mean turtles are mostly omnivorous, but they can't ingest dairy. So
wait, turtles can't ingest dairy?
Turtles, yeah. I mean, if
is that actually a thing?
Yeah, if they're like real turtles, like turtles can't. They're lactose intolerant.
And what was the first thing you said? Maybe I'll just stick to that. I can't eat.
They're omnivorous. You can eat anything else.
So I think Kalimad just brings forth the idea. Well, I have a disguise kit, and I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard for me to get some tattered robes or something like that, and purchase a wheelbarrow, and then take these guys to a cemetery or somewhere that people would normally bury bodies and pretend I'm a gravedigger and bury the bodies. How does that sound? Instead of eating them, we are not savages.
Or we could just drop them off next door. I think our neighbors enjoy corpses. Referring to the manor.
Kalima, do you know? I mean, you've been exposed to lots of cultures in your travel. What's your personal feelings about the movement of souls to heaven? Right, like how if these guys have died violently, do they just get a free ticket to reincarnation, or is there ceremonies that need to be performed? Like, are you worried at all about their souls? Because they were people and they were dirtbags, but like, that's what karma does to a person.
Well, I think Kalimad would view it in the fashion that they're sellswords or whatever. They're soldiers they're not necessarily evil people, but they're doing a job like a soldier would, like a sellsword would do. They're doing their job. But if their job is to try and kill me, then I think all bets are off.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so you personally don't feel any responsibility for the karmic stain that they bear, and I guess you don't care either. Like it's not a karmic imbalance if you murder a person if they were coming after you.
No, not at all.
Okay, sure. I mean, I'm just curious.
Yep.
Okay, so it's just meat then. What are you gonna do with it?
Like I said, I'm just going to go and see if I can spend like a couple silver getting a sizable wheelbarrow or a cart or something. How many bodies are there? There's 5?
5, yes.
Okay. So that means I'm going to have I'm going to have to make a couple of trips if I'm the only one who's going to be doing it.
Buying a wheelbarrow in the middle of the night in a bad neighborhood is not a suspicious activity.
Oh, no. I'm not going to buy in the middle of the night.
I'll wait. Leave the bodies.
Yeah, we'll pile them in a corner for now, and then when day breaks, I'll go get a fucking wheelbarrow. Yeah, go in the middle of the night and like bang on the shopkeep, like, I need a shovel, some canvas, wheelbarrows,
and no questions,
and some lye. You got lye? Like that kind of shit. No, I'll wait till the morning so it's less suspicious. But I think since we want to keep this house, I think we need to get the bodies out of here so they don't fucking stink up the joint.
It's such a nice house too. Bodies would really just, push it over.
And and would I know, like, is there like a place to do a funeral pyre or something like that?
I mean, you can't just light up fire and throw corpses on it just anywhere in town.
Right.
Like you normally, if you have a body, you take it to a temple, but you pay the priests to burn it, right? Because the body, it's important, to do honor for the living, but also like burning bodies gets rid of them, and so. Yeah, you would take it to a temple and pay them, but the priest will ask questions. They'll be like, "Who are these people?" etc.
Just take them to the House of the Falcon, light them on fire.
There is a big like ruined noble estate across the street that you could just bury the bodies or burn them, and if no one noticed the smoke or no one cared, you'd be fine.
Okay, that's what I'll do then. I'd rather not burn them to send up a fucking signal like smoke. In case anybody's like wondering if the town is on fire or something like that, but definitely like bury them clandestinely.
Believe me, it would be the smallest fire that plot of land has seen in recent times.
Yes. And also I forgot it's that you're at like it's at dawn basically. You're at the very, very end of the night. So
okay.
Because you brought back breakfast from your long night.
Yep.
Okay, sure. All right. So what's the plan? Are you just going to carry them? Like it's the House of the Falcons walls are across the street, right? Like your front door, you can see across to the bent and broken gate of this ancient noble house, and then its yards lie beyond.
Okay. Would it be feasible to like rent a horse and cart?
Yeah, sure. Okay. You want to do that, as you said, clandestinely?
Well, no, not renting the horse and cart. I'll just tell them I'm like hauling bags of dirt for a garden or something like that. I mean, if they ask me any questions, I'm sure I can just lie, and I'm sure they're not going to ask too many questions.
Keep bags of dirt.
I mean, they're. You don't know who this priest told before they came here, right?
Right.
And you are of a rare species. But hey, don't let me force you to be more cautious than you intend to be.
Can we get
No, I was saying I have disguise kit and all that kind of stuff. So
can we get Ramus to speak with the horses to make sure they don't say anything? Can we do that?
I don't think I have that power.
You don't have to speak with animals.
Speak with horses.
I kind of wish we did because that'd be fun. Anyways.
Okay. All right. So who does what? There are bodies bleeding onto the floorboards. One of them is lying on your breakfast table. What's you split up the labor here, and it sounds like Kalimat, you're the orchestrator of this plan. You assign some duties.
How many bodies are there again? You said
there are 5. Yeah.
Okay.
I will liberate the corpses of all their valuables to make them lighter for my friends to carry.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. How kind of you. All right, let's see what they got. There are 5 of them. Let's take a look here. I mean, they have gear, right? They have their the armor and weapons that they're carrying. So
Did any
long
of them have a
swords,
shield?
long swords, splint armor, heavy crossbows. I don't think anyone had a shield. Let me double check. Leather armor, a mace, another heavy crossbow, and then the priest was carrying wearing a chain shirt, bearing a holy symbol, and then sort of miscellaneous priest equipment. And the priest has on him the like letter of bounty for Berg, escaped slave.
Adam, a random question, because
Sure.
it's not necessarily explained within this spell. If we put these 5 bodies inside of the tiny hut and then cancel the tiny hut, do they just disappear? They're there.
You can't weaponize the tiny hut. The hut goes away, and they're just lying on the floor.
Ah, okay. All right.
But let me see. You also get some miscellaneous coinage off of them because they weren't just walking around penniless. So I think, let's see, loot here, treasure. Here we go. Okay. All told, Ramus, you get 15 gold.
Okay.
46 silver. And then like a handful of copper, so 12 copper.
Okay.
So yeah, and the money seems mostly from the mercenaries. All have coins from the Court of Coins, which isn't saying much because most of the mints in the world are from there. But the priest has almost exclusively local coins.
Okay.
Yeah, if they had anything else, they might be keeping it at an inn. And actually, I think the priest has a key in his pouch as well, because if they're not local, they were probably staying somewhere. So he would have a key to whatever inn they were staying at.
Okay. I'll drag all their weapons and stuff into like a side room and pile them in there.
In the weapon room, as you do.
Well, we have lots of rooms. What's in it?
You do. Here, let me.
No,
We've
that's what-
got plenty of rooms, yeah.
That's what I'm
It used
saying.
to be a fucking like inn for a bunch of we're
It's
great.
the
We're
weapon
living
room.
large.
Yeah.
It's not clean per se, but we got
No.
space, you know.
It's like a weird murder dorm. And yeah, you can just throw the swords and armor, because they're gonna want to bear them in their armor.
It's a
And you
weapon
can just chuck
room.
all that into a side room. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Quick question about the robes of the priest.
Yes.
Are they mendable, or are they? I'm like thinking of like disguises for later.
Let me see how horribly mutilated they are. Because you hit him with like did he get hit with a firebolt? I think mostly he just got bludgeoned to death.
He got hit with like
magic missiles of air.
Yeah, magic missiles only harm flesh. So
Okay.
But they were of
I will
air,
put-
Adam. They were like pillows of death.
death pillows. Yeah, you could scavenge them. This guy is not that tall. I think you're all taller than he is, except maybe Ramus. And he's quite gaunt, quite thin. But they're robes. They're voluminous. That's the point.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make a point. Ramus, if you would mind taking the robe and setting that aside for me. I have a penchant for outfits. I'm a clothes horse, if you will.
Should I save the lady items too?
No, thank you.
Okay. If you ever want to partake, there are some dresses upstairs. If you like playing dress up.
Where did Ramus get dresses from? Maybe we shouldn't ask these questions.
Yeah. I'll have a look at them after the job is done.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it for that. And then I just say like, well, we have a room set aside for all the valuables, and I would take the bodies and not leave them in the main area. Maybe put them in the stairwell or in the pantry or something like that. Pile them up in there, and then I will return with a horse and cart and something covering that's big enough to cover over all the 5 bodies, and then I will cart them away from there. Sound like a plan?
I love having someone else that can think in the group. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. I appreciate it. All right, and then I'm off.
Okay. All right. So you head out to rent what? What are you trying to obtain?
Just a horse and a mid-sized cart for one day.
Okay. Let's see. And your intent is just to go out and get this thing. You're not making any effort to hide or.
Oh no, yeah, that I might not have like hit that point. I'm going to disguise myself, robe hood down over my face, take on the air of someone who's a gravedigger, like someone who deals with dead bodies all day, kind of creepy.
So let's just for cultural purposes, there are no such thing. Like grave.
Oh, okay.
We don't dig graves. We burn our dead.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, bodies are cremated. Now there are people whose job it is to move bodies around, but they tend to be priests.
Okay.
Yeah, burying a body is not. It's not a thing that we do.
Now, okay, how about this? Culturally, would I know if beggars die in the street?
Yes.
Maybe a beggar dies in the street. No family, no one really knows. Like, what would they do with that body?
The city would be responsible. Like sanitation would be responsible for it. In the same way that if like a dog or a rat or something dies, right? It's the job of the city. If it happens out in the village, they would go to the whoever is the noble that runs the farms and stuff, and they would do it.
Okay. So what I'm basically asking is, if I affected a good enough lie, would it be feasible? Like, could I take these 5 bodies and say, "Oh, these poor things, they're beggars. There was a fucking stampede in the street by like a runaway fucking bull or a horse or something, and it trampled like 10 people, and these 5 of them are injured and 5 of them died, or whatever the fuck, If I came up with a good lie, would that be a feasible thing if I take them to the priest and they'd take care of the bodies?
No, priests don't like they. If they were like a family, the priest's job would be to perform a ritual, right? But if they're just strangers, that you can just get rid of them.
Okay. Okay. So we'll just stick to the original plan. Since there's no actual grave digger thing, I'll just do my best to hide my identity from the person I'm buying the horse and cart from.
Okay. Yeah. So you just want to obfuscate your identity.
Yep.
Okay. What is your let's see. What's your charisma modifier and your proficiency bonus?
4 for charisma, 3 for proficiency.
It's a 7 total. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Cool. So you disguise yourself just as someone, you cloak your identity.
Yeah.
And head out into the city to rent a horse and cart early this fine morning. I don't think that's difficult. You just go to any like market, and you can find that. I think for the day, like 2 gold will cover it. It's not a good horse. It's not a riding horse, but it's a horse that can pull a cart. Actually, be a goat. It wouldn't be a horse. People ride horses, but pack animals tend to be goats. So yeah, it's a big ass goat. And you hire this goat and a cart from someone who has some animals and does these sorts of things.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So you bring it back. So while that's happening, this is going to take like a couple hours to get there and back. What's everybody else doing in the inn?
Ramus, what are you doing?
I'm moving all the weapons and stuff into the room and undressing their armor off their bodies.
Okay.
Just a couple in case we need backups.
I think Berg's trying to like wipe up and like wash out maybe some of the blood in the floor and stuff, just to kind of not have the whole room smell like rotting gross blood, and should they have any other visitors and stuff like that.
Sure. There's a well. There's a well out back. And you can bring up water and use that to
it's
mop
pretty
the floor.
crude. Yeah, pretty crude, but it's just so there's not fucking pools of blood everywhere kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
I'll cast Unseen Servant as a ritual and have him help clean up the place alongside
Nice.
alongside.
Okay,
And
cool.
I don't tell anyone that because it's just natural to me. So you
Yeah.
start seeing different items like floating in midair and walking over
Yes.
and being put on a shelf and
Yeah, some Fantasia shit.
yeah.
Totally.
Um,
Okay.
And probably as this is occurring, I approach Bergen. Hark back to before the fight where I ask you about your axe and if I can take a look at it.
So you're asking Berg about examining the axe.
Yeah. Identifying it. I point to it and can
I'm really curious about what axe you're talking about.
Or sorry, the hammer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think of it as an axe sometimes, but it's a hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I point to the hammer and say, "May I look at that? Perhaps while he's gone, we have some time. I'm curious."
What are you going to do with it?
Simply study it. Look into the soul of the weapon.
I wouldn't look too hard. This weapon is bonded with me.
And then when as Berg says that, with one arm, hands the weapon to you, and also kind of looks at you to see how you.
How I handle it?
So
in,
how
like-
about when Berg hands you the hammer, can you make a strength saving throw for me?
Sure.
It's a pretty large weapon, if I remember correctly.
Sure.
Okay, so he hands it to you, and immediately, as soon as it leaves Berg's hands, it's incredibly heavy, like crazy heavy. And do you drop it, or does it like pull you? Do you stay holding onto it, and pulls you down to the floor? What does that look like? Basically, it's too heavy for you to hold, but I want you to describe what that looks like.
I do my best to make sure that it's not a loud boom as it hits the ground. I softly let it down with my weight, and then maybe just like leave it there on the floor. Say,
Okay, yeah. So you kind of let it slowly down to the floor. Now, when we think of this hammer, it's a war hammer in terms of like the D&D stats for it and stuff, but it's more like a Chinese mace in that it's not just a square block like Mjolnir. It's a square block on a short post. It's quite a long iron rod wrapped with leather at the bottom, and at the top there is a sort of semi-bulbous like weight of either stone or metal. We've never really examined it before, so certainly not with someone who is looking for that kind of thing. Berg understands it as a weapon of crushing, and he knows the balance. He knows how it feels in his hand. He knows how to wield it, but we haven't really taken a close look at it as an object.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's got this kind of oblong carved weight on top of it, and on the weight it has intricate carvings that seem to be a battle scene between a lone figure riding on a chariot. The chariot is being pulled by celestial lions, the same thing that Berg's mask was, and then surrounding him. And the thing that he is in the midst of fighting, this regal looking figure in his robes, he's throwing like spears or thunderbolts or something. He's surrounded by strange amorphous tentacled horrors, things with horns and fangs, terrible shapes. And looking at it, you find that the image seems to not shift as you look at it, but when you look away and look back, it seems like it's changed somehow. The things are shaped differently. Maybe now the figure is spearing a creature through the eye with one of these projectiles, but then you look at it again and he's riding high up on his horse, throwing down a handful of them. It seems to move when you look away.
Okay. Well, after I kind of lower it to the ground, see all that, I'd look up at Berg and say, "What do you know about this weapon so far?"
Very little. I know it has history. It is powerful. kills well.
And where did you find it? I'm kind of like up close, peering into it.
Wasn't it the Gnome King or the Rock Gnome King?
It was in the hands of the gnome, Rock Gnome King.
Yeah. I think Berg takes a moment to like think back.
So long ago. A rock gnome king.
I understand what you
Weak. Old.
I understand. Then he drops for the call. Nice. No, we heard what you said.
I told you it was gonna happen. Did you hear like some weird like robot-y shit?
Yeah, but it kind of worked out.
The combination of Berg voice and the robot thing, it worked out. It just sounded like a series of long growls. It's cool. We understood you.
It added to it.
I want a clip of that, Chad. I want to hear what it sounds like.
We all speak Berg now, so it's fine.
Yeah, it added to it.
Well, to keep it short, Berg goes on about like a little bit, just kind of summarizing the fight with the Rock Gnome King and how he found it, and it seemed like a weapon that he was just drawn to. He didn't understand its power, but he felt a connection to it, and over the years he's battled and felt a larger bond, though he doesn't actually understand the history of the weapon.
Adam, can I make a history check to see if this was originally the Rock Gnome's, having been in that place before, if this was originally the Rock Gnome's weapon or if he got it from somewhere else?
Yeah. I mean, you can make a history check about the weapon generally, and then you can ask me some questions based on how you roll.
Okay. Does this count as the identify spell, or is this before?
No, this would be before. This is just purely taking a look at it.
Cool. Here's a history roll. 15.
15. Okay. Yeah. So I think you're learned enough to recognize the figure. You've seen him before. He's Emperor Fei. He's one of the early emperors, kind of within the first 4 or 5 dynasties of the Court of Coins. His was a militant dynasty. It was right around the time when the Mara were first kind of becoming present in the world. They were more brazen then. They had corrupted some of the gods, and they had tried to make a move on the emperor's palace. Supposedly, I mean, this was thousands of years ago. And so Emperor Fei was responsible for defeating these demons. And he has there are many magical items that are purported to have been in his use in his crusade against the Mara. A suit of armor, his chariot, his war steeds. They were magical lion dogs, and his hammer. So if this is the apology of Emperor Fei, you don't have the cultural context for why it's called that. But if this is the apology of Emperor Fei, it is an ancient weapon and powerful. As for the Rock Gnome, I don't know, like how it got to him.
No idea.
These ancient objects, these artifacts of a long time ago, they change hands.
Get around.
Yeah, they get lost and they change hands, and yeah.
Can I ask if the reason that it's magical is that by slaying these Mara, they became a part of the weapon?
I mean, that would be something the identify spell could tell you.
Okay. Well, I tell Berg all of that, rather long-winded and probably with much more verbose language than how you described it. And that probably takes a good hour or so while we're cleaning the different parts of the house. And then once we get everything, all the blood cleaned up and all that stuff, I would probably cast Identify on it.
Okay, sure. So using the Identify spell teaches you more about the underlying magical nature of the object rather than its historical context. And your Identify ritual, what does it look like? Are you just casually glancing at the thing? Do you draw a magic circle on the floor and place the object in it? What do you do? How do you identify?
I think since the major component is the pearl, I think I somehow like put my hands together like this and crush the pearl into almost dust into my hand. And then that hand is magically coated in a sense, and put that on the weapon and allows me to commune with it.
Right. So you feel the magic in it rather than like visually examining it or.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, it looks pretty plain. It just crushes the pearl in the hand, and then I put the hand on the weapon, and I probably close my eyes, almost talking to like the soul of the weapon.
Okay. Cool. All right. So you feel the magic of this weapon. Now there are two. I think we've talked about this once or twice before, a long time ago. There are two kinds of magic objects in the world. There are objects created on purpose by wizards, by gods, granted to heroes to fight evil. Given as gifts from the Mara to people who are hungry, like that kind of thing. Intentional magic items, and then there are accidental magic items that are magical because of their part in a grand story, their part in an event that is significant. Sometimes they're not magical in the moment, but accumulate magic by being left alone over time. This object appears to be of the latter sort. Not a weapon that was crafted on purpose necessarily, but a weapon that picked up mythological power over time. It is. I mean, the most boring thing about it is the mechanical stuff. So it's it's a +2 hammer. You can feel its energy. You can see the wisps of magic that connect it to, or rather feel them, that connect it to Berg, right? It's attuned itself to Berg. But I think the interesting thing about this object particularly is that something about it is changing. There is a new force at play in this hammer. It seems to be working at it from within, and all you can tell is that it's an absence of magic. There is an invisible or a dark sort of stain that is spreading from the inside out, and you sense it has a magical texture of absence. It feels like a numbness, and that seems to be spreading through the item very slowly, deep at its sort of magi molecular core. But that's new. The rest of it is very ancient, and its magic is also ancient. But something is changing it, or it itself is changing.
Can I understand the motive of this change at all?
No. You just know that it's not a thing you can feel or see, but it's an absence of the magical energy that suffuses the whole universe. Like there's magic everywhere all the time. This thing seems to be losing that and becoming negatively charged if magic is a positive charge.
Can I understand?
So it's losing its weapon soul, much like how Berg's losing his soul.
Can I understand?
That's why they get along so well.
Can I understand what's causing that? Or would I have to identify it a second time to see if I can determine what's different from the previous?
I think it's outside of the purview of an identify spell to teach you that.
Okay.
This shouldn't be possible, right? This is like it's outside of you've been trained. You are a wizard of some renown. You know how magic works. If this were a magical effect of any kind that should exist, you'd be able to recognize it at least a little. But this is something that if you didn't trust yourself and your spells, you might think was an error, and you'd want to cast it again. But it's true. Whatever it is, it just doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so it's an outlier. It's an oddity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I feel like it's eventually going to take over the item, and the item will lose its magical nature and become whatever this void is?
The trick better not.
The trick about progress is that you have to check back in, right? Like you're looking right now. You're looking at a snapshot, and it's hard to tell whether you're looking at a race car or a bicycle, right? You need to check it again and see how much it's spread.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's any other questions. Do I get any sense of Emperor Faye's soul within it, or is it just it was a part of him long ago, and he is no longer remnant in the weapon?
Hard to say. I think that's also outside the purview of the spell.
Okay. And then, like you said, that +2 weapon. There's no other magical benefits or anything.
You sense that currently no, but that maybe if you were to better understand what's going on with the weapon, to better understand its nature, there may be additional power that could be unlocked.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'd take my hand off the weapon and kind of come back to. Maybe my eyes were kind of glazed over or rolled back as this was happening. How long would it be the type of thing where that seemed like I was in there for an hour or so, but in real time it was like a second?
I mean, I think like the casting time of the spell is only a minute.
Right.
But yeah, I maybe if anything, it's a minute for everyone else, and for you, maybe it feels like longer.
Right. Okay. That's what I was getting at. Yeah, I take my hand off and probably stand up and turn to Berg and say, Berg, would you allow me to study this weapon as we journey together? I believe something is happening, but I need more time.
What sort of thing?
Do not take this the wrong way, but I'm not sure I can explain it.
Fair enough. You may.
I would hand you the weapon, but I cannot lift such a thing. So please.
At least we know you won't try to pawn it.
This is not worth... You cannot put a price tag on this.
I'm sure someone in this city could.
Well, do not sell it. That would be foolish.
The price would be their life.
And then Berg grabs.
Okay.
Okay.
We can take a break on that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. A little bit overdue, but that works out. All right, still got 3 hours left to go here on Quarter Swords Week 53. We'll be right back with more RoboBerg right after this. We'll see you in just a second.
Yeah, RoboBerg.